All right, everyone, happy Friday. So I got this. Now before I get into this, I want to let all of you know that I truly apologize. I fell behind on being able to do this follow-up video because I ended up breaking my arm. I know that's no excuse, but me personally, I wanted to apologize because when somebody tells me they're going to follow up with something, I kind of expect that people do it. And I've been especially with some of the weather around here and for the last few weeks, this came in, I want to say, middle of the week last week. And then the broken arm and then the weather. I haven't really been able to get back to this. I really don't know exactly how this whole video is going to go. Having one arm kind of not quite so usable. So anyways, I want to try and get started on this, and let's open this up and let's take a look and see what we got. This is supposed to be an exhaust gas leak detector for your cooling system. All right, so let's get this thing open. Ta-da! There she is. BT-500 block tester. The original combustion leak tester. So, let's figure out what the heck it is that we have inside this package. Wow, look at that. I'm not sure if you can see that here. It says made in USA. That's kind of cool. How does this kit arrive? There's your bottle. This right here is, I guess, a little tube. What's inside? What else is here? Oh wow, look at that. Okay, I'm assuming that goes on the end of that there. That doesn't seem like quite the tightest fit on there. It's a little bit disappointing. This back one here seems like it's a much tighter fit. But I guess we'll see if it holds fluid. That seems to just be, you can see, it's rotating in there. That's kind of a little bit worrisome that it's going to start to leak out maybe around here. The concept here is there's a line here that says fluid level. And I believe you pour this blue fluid in here and to that level. And then you put this either at the end of the little hose coming out of that expansion tank or on top of the expansion tank. And as it blows air bubbles up through the expansion tank, you use this to draw those air bubbles in through this check valve here, so the fluid does not leak down into that container. And if the fluid stays blue, then you don't have a leak. That's not combustion gases. But if the fluid turns yellow, which that's what it says from here, when the fluid changes from blue to yellow, combustion leak is present. So you put that on here, you draw the air through it, and if the fluid turns yellow, then we know we've either got a crack in the block, a crack in the head, or a blown head gasket. So let's go take this out, check it out on the car, and see how it works. All right, so it's been weeks since this thing was last started, so let's see how this thing goes. See if it even starts. Do you hear that? That's really running quite bad. You can see it shaking the water on the hood, shaking the whole mirror. Look at that. Oh wow, it kind of revved up a little bit. You know, the biggest shame about this whole thing is before this happened, I just put a full tank of gas in here. So let's go ahead and pull her up into the driveway and see what's what. Okay, so one of the first things that I'm going to do is pop the hood. I want to kind of check the fluid levels a little bit because obviously I don't really want it to overheat here in the driveway. I'm going to shut it off while I do that, and then turn it back on, and I'll let the thing warm up until we start getting bubbles, and then we'll check it again. Alright, so as you can see, there's appears to be some radiator fluid still in there, which is a good sign, or good enough for the test. It'll still circulate. Obviously that reservoir's still got quite a bit of fluid in there. The engine's not hot, so it shouldn't be that high. I should have sucked most of that back down into the radiator. So let's go ahead and fire this thing back up and let it idle until it warms up and we start seeing bubbles. Okay, as you can see, we're up to pretty much normal operating temperature right now. I'm gonna let it run a little bit more to hopefully add some pressure to the radiator system and allow the pressure to pop the radiator cap and start letting bubbles flow out into the expansion tank. All right, looks like we actually have some bubbles there. So before we dive right into this, we've got our coolant leak tester kit over here. There's obviously a operating instructions here, a little pamphlet. Obviously I recommend that you read this, but there's a little warning label up here and there's some information on how to use it. We'll give this a quick read through, that way we make sure we use it right so we don't get false results. It's always a good idea. Now, I know most people probably don't read them, but we're going to do that for this. Make sure we do it right, make sure we give this product a fair test, and make sure we give my car a fair evaluation. Okay, so with all that said, this kit seems pretty straightforward to use. We're going to put this tip on here, alright, and then we're going to fill this up with fluid to about here. Oh wow, that wasn't very well sealed. Alright. So that looks about the right level. I was told to squeeze the bottle. I've seen recommendations to squeeze the bottle to get pretty much nearly all the air out before you store it. Otherwise, there's a potential that that air will contaminate the fluid in there. So, but it seems like it might make some sense to do that. Anyways, let's go ahead and get started on this test. Go ahead and put the cap back on this thing. The test says to use it directly on the top of the radiator. So hopefully let's move the camera a little bit so you can see that there. Alright, so it's sitting directly on top of the radiator. We put this on here, and it says to draw fluid through there, or draw air through there for approximately 1 minute. So I think we've done that for probably about a minute now. I think that's pretty safe to call that a minute. So let's take a look at the fluid in here. I wouldn't particularly call that like a heavy yellow. that definitely did make a bit of a color change. So I'm going to do the test one more time and see if we get any different results. Okay, so now I've cleaned out the container again. We're going to do this one more time. All right, so the test didn't turn out quite yellow in nature. It definitely changed color. So I'm going to do two other tests. I saw somebody hook it up to the hose to the expansion tank and let those bubbles flow directly through the fluid. And then I'm also going to do another test, just because I ordered it specifically for this car. On the other test is what I'm going to do is I'm going to do roughly 1 minute's worth of sucking fresh air into it and see roughly how much the color changes of the fluid to compare regular air that we breathe versus the test results that I got here, and see maybe if this is just a slight change in the color. Now at this point I'm pretty convinced that I have some sort of a leak. I'm not 110% convinced that I got a leak, but I more so just want to take this time to look more at this block tester kit, because some people, they use it, they show you how to use it, but they don't really show you the particular scenario that I'm getting here, which is not a true yellow tint in color. It's more slightly greenish with a little bit of blue to it. So let's do these couple of tests. Alright, so if you look at the hole on the bottom of this, well, as you can see, that hose is quite a bit bigger than that hole. And without a lot of gyrations, I really can't get that hose on the end of this. I'd have to go get some little fittings and stuff to hook that up to there. So I'm going to bypass the test of hooking this directly up to the hose for the expansion tank. And we're just going to go ahead as an experiment and suck some fresh air through this for about 60 seconds. Okay, so now I want you guys to be able to take a look at the genuine color change with just sucking fresh air through it for roughly about 60 seconds, which is what the instructions say. So let's go for it. All right, that's pretty darn close. As you can see, that stayed more along the lines of the color of this than the slightly off green, slightly off yellow color that we got before on the two tests that we did on the radiator. So this is just 60 seconds of running fresh air through it versus the air that was coming out of the top of the radiator. So unless any of you out there on YouTube for some reason or another think that there's a different way to run this test, or I'm getting inaccurate results, I think it's safe to say that there's definitely something wrong with either the head or the block or the head gasket on my 2003 Toyota Solara. If you like the video, if you found it informative, if it helped you decide whether or not to buy this particular kit, please go ahead and like the video. Also subscribe. Subscriptions really help, especially for new YouTube channels. In order to be able to get to the point of monetization, I have to have at least 1,000 followers, or 1,000 subscribers. So if you can go ahead and click that subscribe button, it would really help out the channel, especially considering that things like this are not free. But I wanted to commit and obviously offer a bit of a informative video. And if you have any comments or suggestions, or if you want to see me do some sort of another test with this to maybe satisfy a curiosity, go ahead and leave it in the comments section. I usually do my best to try and get back to comments. Thank you very much for watching, and hopefully I'll have some more videos about the Solara, maybe what I'm going to do with it next. I'm not sure if I want to repair the head gasket, or if I want to put a rebuilt engine in it, or if I just want to get rid of the car because it's got almost 300,000 miles on it, and anything later that goes wrong with it will just be more expense spent on an already 300,000 mile car. Thank you.